It is the news within the week, and we're coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Spectrum Television, my name is Uyai Imam. Let's bring you a recap of major stories. President Tinubu says liberated communities in Northwest witness return of peace. INEC urges National Assembly to act quickly on electoral reform proposal. Plus, Trump tells Israel to stop bombing Gaza as Hamas agrees to release hostages. We'll bring you the details of these stories and more in a moment. It's a beautiful Sunday. We head now to the national scene to bring you a recap of the major stories. President Bola Tinubu during the week assured Nigerians that the new tax laws will not add an extra burden on existing taxpayers, but will provide relief for low-income workers. This was revealed by the president while delivering his address as Nigeria on Wednesday marked its 65th Independence Day anniversary. He said the tax-to-GDP ratio has risen to 13.5% from less than 10%, adding that the ratio is expected to increase further when the new tax law takes effect in January 2026. The president acknowledged that various economic reforms have brought what he described as temporary pain to Nigerians, adding that allowing the country to slip into bankruptcy was not an option at the time he took over the administration of the country in 2023.
Issue has risen to 13.5% from less than 10%. The ratio is expected to increase further when new tax law takes effect in January. The tax law is not about increasing the burden on existing taxpayers, but about expanding the base to build the Nigeria we deserve and providing tax relief to low-income earners. We are now a net exporter. Nigeria has recorded a trade surplus for 5 consecutive quarters. We are now selling more to the world than we are buying. A fundamental shift.
Meanwhile, President Tinubu during the week said that all hands must be on deck to reposition the country among its peers globally. The president, who stated this during his address, said Nigeria must be a nation of producers, not just consumers. He said Nigeria has attained a net exporter status, recording a trade surplus for 5 consecutive quarters, with trade surplus increasing by 44.3% in Q2 2025 to 7.46 trillion naira. According to him, goods manufactured in Nigeria and exported jumped by 173% in the period under review, while non-oil exports as a component of export trade now represents 48% of the federal government's revenue compared to oil exports, which currently accounts for 52%. In the meantime, the president has also said that his administration has worked hard to tackle the security challenges facing parts of the country. The president stated that peace had returned to the liberated communities in the Northeast and Northwest regions. According to Tinubu, the officers and men of the armed forces and other security agencies are working tirelessly and making significant sacrifices to keep Nigerians safe. Away from that, the federal government in the course of the week reaffirmed its commitment to improving the welfare and recognition of teachers in the country. The government gave the assurance ahead of this year's World Teachers' Day with the theme recasting teaching as a collaborative profession. The Minister of Education, Dr. Olatunji Alausa, alongside the Minister of State for Education, Dr. Suwaiba, made this known at a symposium in Abuja. Alausa described teachers as the custodians of knowledge, the builders of character, and architects of the nation's future. The event is celebrated globally on October the 5th to honor teachers and recognize their contributions to education and society. On electoral matters, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, within the week urged the National Assembly to expedite the passage of proposed amendments to the country's electoral legal framework. Yakubu made the appeal on Thursday in Abuja during a meeting with the European Union Election Observation Follow-up Mission to Nigeria, led by Barry Andrews, who also headed the EU mission during the 2023 general election. Yakubu emphasized that the early passage of the amended electoral law is crucial for INEC's effective planning ahead of the next general election. He noted that INEC had thoroughly reviewed all 8 recommendations specifically directed to the Commission in the European Union Election Observation Mission's EU-EOM report on the 2023 general election. On to judicial matters now. Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja during the week dismissed a suit instituted against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu challenging the March 18, 2025 proclamation of a state of emergency in Rivers State. The declaration of the state of emergency by Tinubu led to the suspension of the Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara and members of the Rivers State House of Assembly for 6 months. It also led to the appointment of an administrator who took charge of running the affairs for the period, delivering judgment in a suit filed by Belema Briggs and 4 others against the emergency rule. Justice Omotosho held that the 5 plaintiffs lacked the legal power to institute the case. The judge said that such a case as constituted can only be determined by the Supreme Court. Still on matters coming out of Rivers State, Governor Siminalayi Fubara in the course of the week sacked all commissioners and other public office holders serving in his administration. The decision, according to a statement issued in Port Harcourt on Wednesday evening by his Chief Press Secretary Nelson Chukwudi, takes immediate effect and followed the recent Supreme Court judgment. The governor, during a valedictory session with the cabinet to mark Nigeria's 65th independence anniversary at the Government House, Port Harcourt, thanked the outgoing officials for their services and contributions to the state's development over the past 2 years. Fubara also reiterated his commitment to serve the state with renewed vigor, while expressing gratitude to Rivers people for their support and wishing Nigerians happy independence anniversary. In a separate development, Nigerian Railway Corporation (NRC) during the week announced the resumption of passenger train services on the Abuja-Kaduna corridor effective 1st October 2025. A statement by its Chief Public Relations Officer Callistus Unyimadu said commercial service will recommence following the successful completion of all required safety, technical and operational checks. The development comes after the train derailed on August 26, the second to occur at the same station within 13 months. The incident happened after the train passed a manually operated switch point that had been previously declared unserviceable. In another development, the National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA) within the week confirmed that 24 passengers were rescued from the Kogi boat mishap. In a post, NEMA said 42 persons remained missing as search and rescue operations continue. According to the agency, the incident occurred on Tuesday evening when a boat carrying about 80 passengers capsized on the River Niger. The boat had departed Onwagwa community in a Baji local government area and was heading to Olushi village before it sank. The Director General of NEMA, Zubaida Umar, activated the Abuja Operations Office to support ongoing rescue efforts. Back on the home front in Akwa Ibom State, the Governor passed on Moino in the course of the week ordered the dissolution of all statutory and non-statutory boards and commissions in the state, effective from October the 3rd. The directive issued under the provisions of Section 6 of the Statutory Board's Special Provisions Law 2023 was contained in a statement signed by the Secretary to the State Government, Prince Enowong Uwa. Governor Eno expressed appreciation to the chairman and members of the affected boards and commissions for their service and contributions to the implementation of his administration's Arise agenda. He also wished them success in their future endeavors. The statement further directed that all government property in the possession of the dissolved boards and commissions should be handed over to the most senior civil servant in each of the respective bodies. Still to come in the news. Pengassan denies signing reconciliation agreement after strike suspension. Stay tuned for more details. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. It's still the news this week and we head now to Africa. Chad's parliament during the week overwhelmingly passed the constitutional amendment scrapping presidential term limits in a move condemned by opponents of President Mahamat Deby. President Mahamat Deby was first made transitional president by army generals in 2021 after rebels killed his father Idris Deby Itno in a gun battle, ending his 30 years in power in the impoverished Central African nation. Deby was then elected head of state in May 2024 for 5 years in a contested vote boycotted by a majority of opposition parties. Friday's parliamentary vote for the constitutional reform presented by Deby's Patriotic Salvation Movement (MPS) saw 236 of the 257 lawmakers in Chad's parliament back the move, with no votes against. Max Kimonki, spokesperson for the opposition platform group of political actors consultation, told reporters that there is no longer any difference between the MPS and the Republic. Still in Africa, ECOWAS Court President Justice Ricardo Goncalves appealed to the governments of ECOWAS member states to fully recognize the court's authority and cooperate with it in enforcing the court's judgment. He made the appeal while declaring open the ECOWAS Court's 2025-2026 legal year celebration with the theme ECOWAS Court and International Law, Expanding Access and Navigating Contemporary Challenges on Thursday in Abuja. Reports say the annual event is usually held to mark the commencement of a new legal year and provide an opportunity to reflect on the court's achievements, challenges and future prospects. It also serves as a forum for dialogue with stakeholders like other ECOWAS institutions, member states, national courts, bar associations, academics, civil society and development partners to chart the way forward. On the foreign scene, Trump has said that he believes Hamas is ready for a lasting peace and urged Israel to stop the bombing of Gaza. Recall that Hamas said it has agreed to release all remaining Israeli hostages but asked for further negotiations on a number of issues outlined in the U.S. peace plan on Gaza. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel is preparing to immediately implement the first phase of Donald Trump's plan. Elsewhere, Senator Takachi has won the leadership of Japan's ruling party, putting her on course to become the country's first woman prime minister. She was elected president of the Liberal Democratic Party after winning a runoff vote against Shinjiro Koizumi, the son of a former premier. In the meantime, Indonesia's government suspended the operating license of video sharing app TikTok because the platform refused to share data about recent anti-government protests. Indonesia has the second biggest audience on TikTok, owned by China's ByteDance, with more than 100 million users. The ministry said it had temporarily suspended the app's operating license for failing to provide adequate data on its live features activities during anti-government protests in August. The government asked TikTok for traffic and other data related to the alleged monetization of live activities from accounts suspected of online gambling. Still on the foreign scene, Sarah Mulai was yesterday named the new Archbishop of Canterbury, becoming the first woman to lead the Church of England, which can trace its origins to the Roman Empire and the global Anglican community. Her nomination by a committee tasked with finding a successor to Justin Welby, who stepped down earlier this year over an abuse scandal, has been approved by King Charles III. The Church of England is the mother church of global Anglicanism. Mullally, 63, becomes the church's 106th Archbishop of Canterbury, the first having been appointed in the late 6th century. In a statement, the former nurse acknowledged the huge responsibility of her new role, but said she feels a sense of peace and trust in God to carry her. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Keir Starmer welcomed the appointment of the first woman to hold the role. On our business news, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASAN, clarified during the week that it did not sign the communique that ended its recent strike against Dangote Refinery. Recall that the union suspended its nationwide strike on Wednesday after government intervention, but insisted its concerns were not fully addressed. Speaking with newsmen, PENGASAN President Festus Osifo said the document presented at the meeting was not an agreement. Osifo stressed that the statement was only a communication from the Minister of Labour and Employment acting as chief conciliator. The PENGASAN and the private refinery had been at loggerheads over unresolved labour issues. Elsewhere, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited Group Chief Executive Officer Bashir Ajulari within the week lamented the crude and gas production losses resulting from the three-day strike carried out by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria. In a letter written to the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority and Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Ojolari explained that the suspended strike led to 16% oil production and 30% marketed gas losses, while the nation suffered a 20% power supply shortfall. The National Oil Company's letter, dated the 29th of September 2025, entitled Impact Assessment of Ongoing Industrial Action, was also sent to the National Security Advisor and the Director General, Department of State Services. Still in business, the Naira appreciated significantly against the United States dollar at the official foreign exchange market after Nigeria's independence anniversary holiday on Thursday. Data from the Central Bank of Nigeria show that the Naira strengthened to 1,455 Naira on Thursday, up from 1,475 Naira traded on Tuesday. This means that the Naira gained 20 Naira against the dollar on Thursday compared to the 1,475 Naira exchanged at the close of trading before Wednesday's holiday. Similarly, at the black market, the Naira firmed up by 5 Naira to 1,485 Naira on Thursday from 1,490 Naira on Tuesday. This indicates positive sentiment across FX markets on Thursday and further shows that the gap between the official and parallel foreign exchange markets has continued to narrow. Still to come in the news. Super Falcons forward Onumonu announces retirement from football. Stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment.
Broadening your horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. We are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Risk on your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. That is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. Polarization horizontal, and join our online community at spectrumtvlive.ng. For further enquiries, please call 0704 158 5642 or 0704 541
Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. And now we'll bring to you the concluding part of the news this hour. In health, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control Nafdac on Thursday destroyed fake, expired, substandard and falsified drugs and products valued at 15 billion naira in Ibadan, Oyo State. This was announced by the Director General of the agency, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, during the destruction in Ibadan, the state capital. Represented by Nafdac's Director of Investigation and Enforcement, Martins Inumate, Adeyeye said the agency remained resolutely committed to ensuring that foods, drugs, cosmetics, medical devices, chemicals, packaged water and drinks were safe, wholesome and effective for human consumption. She stated that the destruction of those products would eliminate the risk of their re-entry into the Nigerian market. Still in health, the National Association of Resident Doctors (NARD) during the week said that over 35% of Nigerian children under the age of 5 are affected by malnutrition, describing the menace as a critical public health challenge. In a post on X on Thursday, NARD said over 35% of children under the age of 5 are affected. NARD stated that interventions include ready-to-use therapeutic food, RUTF distribution, community-based management of acute malnutrition, CMAM, and infant and young child feeding, IYCF, counseling. It added that research shows these strategies significantly improve recovery rates and child survival. The body urged support for sustainable nutritional programs to protect children's health nationwide. Now to sports news. Super Falcons striker Ifeoma Onumonu has announced her retirement from professional football. Onumonu quit the round leather game at the age of 31. She took to the social media to announce her retirement. The forward has won titles at both home and international levels. Meanwhile, Benin Republic head coach Gernot Rohr has named a 25-man squad for his side's 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers against Rwanda. Rohr named Remo Stars goalkeeper Serge Obasa in the squad alongside first-choice shot-stopper Sardine Alglakbe, Olivia Benon, Mohamed Tijani and Cedric Hatouni are among the regulars called up for Roha. Other regulars who made the selection are Captain Steve Moni, Junior Olaiton, Jodel Dosu and Tosin Oyegun. Roha's charges will be away by to the Amavubi of Rwanda by the Amahoro Stadium, Kigali on Friday, October 10. The Squirrels will face Nigeria 4 days later at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium, Uyo. Still in sports, Paul Onuachu has won the Turkish Super League Goal of the Month award for August. Onuachu won the individual accolade for his superb header in Trabzonspor 1-1 draw with Samspor on match day 4. The Nigeria international was presented with the award by Trabzonspor Vice President Sayed Kafas ahead of yesterday's league clash with Kemerspor. The 31-year-old registered 1 goal and assist in the game. Onuachu is also in contention to win the Goal of the Month award for September. On our entertainment news, Joseph Aloba, father of the late Nigerian singer Iroluwa Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad, has urged the Lagos State government to prosecute his son's widow, Omomi Aloba, alongside others indicted by the coroner's inquest into the artist's death. The demand was contained in a petition addressed to the state's Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Lawal Pedro San, and signed by Aloba's legal counsel, Wahab Shitu's son. In the letter, Aloba specifically called for the prosecution of Feishayo Ogenebe, the auxiliary nurse who administered an injection to the singer shortly before his death in September 2023. He also requested that other individuals present in Mohbad's apartment at the time, particularly those who invited the nurse or failed to seek immediate medical help, to be brought to justice. Lastly, to conclude the news within the week, hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been sentenced to more than 4 years in prison for his conviction on prostitution-related charges. Prosecutors had sought 11 years behind bars for Combs, but Judge Aaron Sobranian handed down a 50-month sentence after an emotional day-long court hearing. Combs' lawyers had urged the judge to sentence the 55-year-old hip-hop star to 14 months, which would effectively have been time served since he has been incarcerated in Brooklyn for more than a year. Addressing the court before the judge handed down the sentence, Combs said he was truly sorry for his actions and asked the judge for another chance. And that's all we are able to bring to you at this time on the news within the week, bringing you a recap of major stories. This has been put together by Spectrum Television. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News within the week. I am Uyai MM. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend.